The Depths to Delve Deep by Rote Writer. Chapter 37 Incorrigible. Next day, Rote catches up with his former boss at the college. He asks how she's faring and finding a way to pay him. While there, he reassures her it will not be possible for him to return to work as an employee. He's been assured a job is there for him if he should acquire another work permit. That's not about to happen. Unless he's able to apply or reply for one somehow by magically transporting back to his own country under the cover of being a student between the age of 17 and 28 and acquire one. He just wants to be paid the money he worked for and decides decisively not to let up with the stupid stipulation keeping his check back. His former boss assures him she'll do what she can. She's similarly the type whom if someone is out of sight, then they'll soon be out of mind. With that in mind, and rather than dally another day, he makes sure she faxes the parent company responsible for the payroll of the cleaners at the college post haste. College really has nothing to do with the cleaners save for providing them a place to clean, learns the former cleaner. With that done, he leaves, thanking her for her patience as well as putting up with his position. It's not his disposition to be so dependent, but it's the only avenue he has to take in this matter. Rote visits the college library every day afterwards, searching for more material on his lineage and information on Ireland. He really wants to go there. He makes a promise to himself. If he's paid for his work at the college, then he'll use the money to further his travels onwards to the Emerald Isle. As the weather warms up a bit, Rote spends much more time outdoors, enjoying the rays so hard to come by in rainy climates. He spends a lot of time on a particular bench, just sitting there watching the people walk by, while he rolls his smokes, hoping all will work out. Often on his way to his beloved bench, Rote will walk by the statue of John Knox. The statue of the Scot stands as if on a bully pulpit, with the Bible in one hand and the other outstretched, supposedly shepherding the flock in a mock frock of black bordered by white, and battened by a beard. Rote sees the statue near the Scottish makeshift Parliament parking lot. It's believed he's buried beneath one of the numbered lots, or something like that, for Rote thinks it's strange Scotland's sire or parent of Presbyterianism would be laid to rest underneath an asphalt vault. A sacred spot it's not, for foot and hooves in the history, and now where cars park leaking oil no less. Nonetheless, the Parliament is temporarily presiding in the Church of Scotland. It's across the street from St. Giles High Kirk, where Knox in statue ministers near the Mercat Cross. The reformer rather reminds Rote of a preacher and actually is the father of Scottish Presbyterianism. 100 years before the parliamentarian armies of Oliver Cromwell comes Knox, who makes certain Catholicism no longer reigns. He seems like Cromwell to have developed a hatred for Catholics, the Pope, the papacy, and any people portrayed as papists. Abroad in exile during the reign of Catholic Mary, Queen of Scots, Rote learns John Knox may have harbored hatred for Mary, and in so having directed his contrivances at Catholics. Though that's only a theory, Rote overhears one afternoon while attending a free lecture. It happens when he enters the house John Knox built, and is mistaken for the lecturer. There he learns the reformer, probably depending upon whose privy, does much more damage in the long run than what Cromwell does in the short term, especially equating Catholicism with witchcraft and whatnot, taught in a way the Catholics conspired and contrived over countless centuries. Like the Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of the Witches, the medieval book Bent in Hell's Scent, it makes sure many women burn at the stake for being anything but pious or proper in the eyes of religious rancor running rampant through the Middle Ages. Rote, sitting with many his senior, is amazed while listening to the lecturer lambast Scotland's sectarian sire, a father of few faults for sure, and through conjecture the Salem witch hunts. 6 scenes that see so many fine women suffer. Surely over in Scotland, Scottish women suffer more. Yet, like Cromwell, in England, steeped in his own puritanical, canonical, John Knox is highly honoured in Scotland. Oddly, both are parked and posed in their respective Parliament parking lots. Rote returns that day to the convent and learns through the ire of the indigent crew how quick to temper they are every time he tries to knock Knox as anything but blessed. Rote, or blessed. Rote returns to his betrothed bench by the bully pulpit of the branded John Knox, and on occasion will visit the Scottish Parliament when in session. Inside in session, he's very intrigued by the Nationalist Party sitting in opposition. He's heard the party is partially and privately funded by none other than Sean Connery, 007. Meanwhile, the Scottish government is in the process of building their brand new $1 billion Scottish Parliament down near the Palace of Holyrood House. Holyrood House is the Queen's official residence in Scotland. It's found at the end of the Royal Mile, just below Arthur's Seat on Holyrood Road. And not far from the Royal Ground is Dynamic Earth, a high-tech place prior to a planetarium presenting a poignant push for planet awareness. The new digs for the Parliament are next door. Meanwhile, Rote, who's still inside a session, sees they've transformed the Church of Scotland's digs into a makeshift House of Commons. He sits there listening in on the debate. It's often heated. Rote's noticed by some of the Nationalist Party members moored down there on the Parliament floor, looking directly at the commoner with interest. He's seen earlier outside on his bare bench, seemingly dreaming of a green leather bench. He sits there parked by the Parliament day after day, and when he sits inside the House, he seems to survey the system, conveying something. Mostly nothing, though in his mind he wishes politicians would put people ahead of the politics. Back at the convent, he informs the fixtures on his fund with all things Scottish. The begotten Scotsman seems tireless on the subject. He highlights his happenings, and they in turn add or subtract from what he learns.